Good morning, traders. This is Barry Wilkie with StartupTrading.com. It is 7 minutes till 9 a.m. Eastern Time on Wednesday, November 19th. So, before we get into the review of yesterday and technical analysis, let's just look ahead at the calendar for today. So, not on here, but is very important. We have the VIX roll this morning. That rolls at 9 a.m. basically Eastern Time. So once the opening bell rings, we will be on we're already on a new front month in the overnight, but options can no longer trade on that front month, right? They cease to be able to be traded at the close of yesterday, and then they'll settle out this morning, and then we'll start the new front month officially once the opening bell rings, and options can be taken on that. And that is where we'll have to see what the appetite is for further hedging while we're near these uh, you know quasi heavy support levels. So as we look at the calendar for today, right, we're going to have FOMC member speaking. Uh, Nothing really there, but we're going to have President Trump. That's going to be at 12:15 Eastern time today, and then the other big catalyst could be at 2 o'clock FOMC meeting minutes. So keep that in mind, especially if you have to be flat for whatever prop firm you're trading with going into those minutes. That those will be released today. For the rest of the week, we're going to have I believe this is going to be September's job report because it says it's 48 days past due. That means it should have been released on October 1st, meaning that it should have been the September data, is the way I'm reading this. I don't know if we're getting, September and October, or I don't know, but it just says it's 48 days past due. So we're getting at least one of them tomorrow, and then, nothing really doing. And then we're going to have, Flash PMI and services and University of Michigan out on Friday. So basically, this non-farm payroll information tomorrow could be, it's old news, so I don't know how relevant it'll be unless they do September and October with it. I haven't followed closely enough to know what's going on there. But if it's just September data, I don't know if anyone's really going to care. But you probably have to be flat for that on some of your prop firms as well tomorrow. So let's get into the TA. So yesterday, coming into it, we had a pretty good overnight range. And we had, if you look at the distribution, there was just one large volume node that was pretty small compared to the range. And then we opened up near the lows of that high volume node. And then once the bell rang, we went, we got some up, right? And then, but lots of fills to the downside. And then really just, you can see just lots of overhead supply, right? Every time there's overhead supply, it just is met with, more selling and more weight. So there's a lot of overhead supply building up. We'll get into more of that in a minute. Looking at the keep me out of trouble fibs, right? Once the opening bell rang, right, you went down, you made that low about 11 o'clock, and then you held some sequences up uh, until about 3 o'clock, and then you just kind of rolled back down into them again. Just not a lot really going on. It was just a whippy large session with longer consolidations, right? These consolidations before you had the shake and bakes were very long in time. And then looking at, what we did yesterday, we did get down to that 595 on the Qs, and then we printed even 591.34, but you can see there was really no appetite below that 595 yesterday. And then looking at the cash market, right, the S&P basically traded 65.75 with a high of 66.60, 66.70. So almost a hundred points in there. Looking at today and really where we're at, right? We're still just kind of after we put this up, if you look to the where this volume profile is, you can see on the above this breakout, right, there's really not a lot of volume up there at this point in time. Uh, Obviously we'd have to get up there and trade some more to put some volume in, but you just look at the how many daily bars are in the meat of this, and you can see that we're below uh, the 6670 is yesterday's point of control. And that's kind of the bottom, maybe a little bit lower, maybe down to 6655, 6660 will be the bottom of this node that goes up to 6720. Uh, but as we, look at this, this is all overhead supply at this point in time, and there's not a lot in here of, we're pretty much in a void at this point in time until we get down to 65.40. And not saying that we're going to trade that, but looking at it, and then you don't really start even getting. Look at the size of these nodes compared to what's below. There's really not a lot. Below until you get all the way down to find even a bigger node that we're currently trading. You have to get down to about 6,100 to 61 or 6,090. Right in there is where you start having, a bigger support areas. So I don't know if we'll get down there either, but that would make sense at some point in time to get a check back at least down to 6150 if this holds, and lots of untested points of control. But let's not put the cart in front of the horse yet. Let's see if we get back up into this high volume node and trade around. This week is OpX, and we have the VIX roll today. So it is theoretically possible to start, accelerating to the downside at some point between now and Friday's close. And there's probably a 65% chance that we close on the lows of the week this week, or make the lows of the week in that Friday afternoon session. So keep that in mind. That is normal uh, flow for an OPEX week with the VIX rolling on a Wednesday. We'll see if that comes into play, but keep in mind, don't fight the norm if that's what's going to happen. Uh, Normally, right, we have a little bit above bid in the VIX on Monday and Tuesday, which would have been, the previous two sessions. We did not get that. So we'll see if this week, could be a little bit opposite of normal. But so the VIX, rolled, it come down. I'll bring up one of the Jack's grids that I use just uh, to show that. So if you look at right now, the VIX closed up right around this on the front month, or in the last month it closed up right around this 24, 25, right? Overnight, the new month is down at 20 to 21. So keep in mind that the big round numbers are what institutions like. So a VIX of 20, right, or a VIX of 25 um, is what they like. So we'll see. But once you start getting, and I would, if you're using Jack's indicators, I would actually put this on the continuous, uh, not the continuous, but I'll put it on the exact month for the VIX. If you're going to be watching the VIX for, what it's doing, don't, have this roll on this chart today. Um, but as we kind of look at where we're at, we're just as big as this overnight range was so far tonight, right? We hit value area high on the Russell. We didn't hit it on any of the rest of them. We took out value area low on the other three indexes. Those were rejected under that, so price just come back up. And if you look at the Nasdaq, it's trading right around yesterday's point of control, right? This yellow line, it says POC on it. Uh, the ES did not get over it. Again, that's one of the main things I want to watch today to see if there's any appetite today above this 6670, right, which is a little bit over this overnight high. That's going to be at value area high. That's where the bulls really need to take it over. All the bears have to do basically to keep driving this down and keep going back under for poor structure and maybe get a shot at getting under yesterday's low between 65.83 and all the way down to uh, this 65.70, 69, 68 right in there. This is really the target, right? This is the bottom of the current auction that we're in. And then we'll have to see if there's any appetite below there. You can see the toss 1 day expected low move of the day, no coincidence, is right where that poor structure ends, right the bottom of the auction. Institutions don't play, it's not good money, right, to play that you're going to do something outside of the current auction. So they've placed that there as what they expect to low. This is as of the low from yesterday, and they're thinking that you're not going to go above the previous or up above the auction either, which is above this box. So 67.08. So status quo is just a little bit above yesterday's high to a little bit below yesterday's low, but all in this auction on the ES. For the NASDAQ, again, you've got this marker right up here, right? This is where auction changes. So 24,924, right? They're expecting it to stay under that. And then again, just probably lining up with where the ES has support for the NQ, 24,268. Now with President Trump, the VIX roll, and FOMC meeting minutes today, there's a high possibility that we trade both ends at some point today of these auctions, right? And then we'll have to see if there's appetite, especially after. I would expect us to hold in this range in the morning, right? President Trump is a little bit iffy, what he could talk about. He may not upset the apple cart today, but the FOMC meeting minutes have a higher probability of doing that. But then the next auction is quite a bit below. That would be almost a 2 sigma move to get down to the bottom of the auction that we're currently in for the NASDAQ. That's going to be right around this 23,720. But you can see right around 24,000. There starts to be, potential supports all the way down to 23,881 before you get down to that 23. So I'm not looking for that necessarily to trade today, but depending on how today sets up, it could easily trade tomorrow or Friday. And again, there's a 65% probability that we close or at least make the weekly lows on Friday afternoon at some point. So we'll see if you get up above these auctions. That's going to be the quick tell. So I look for this auction. So I'm just looking to uh, fade the looking for signs to fade the top of the auction and the bottom of the auction until President Trump gets on the mic. Uh, and then we'll see what that goes and then wait till after he gets off. But it won't be too long after he gets off the mic when he doesn't start until 12:15, and he's probably going to be late getting on it anyways with those FOMC meeting minutes coming at 2. I hope this helps you guys. Have a great day, and I will talk to you tomorrow.